to Miss Cindy's Kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make Clementine's Oatmeal cookies. And it's a recipe from Ghirardelli, and it calls for chocolate chips, oatmeal, walnuts, and nutmeg, cinnamon, flour, baking soda, both brown and white sugar, and an egg. So, anyway, what we're going to start off with first is a cup of butter. And we're going to cream that with 3/4 of a cup of packed brown sugar, and a half a cup of white sugar. And then when that's creamed, we will then add 1 egg and a teaspoon of vanilla. And then after that's creamed, we will add the remaining ingredients. So let me get that started, because you'll need to cream your butter and sugar for at least 4 minutes till it's light and fluffy. And this butter has been sitting out overnight because you need soft butter. And if you don't have it sitting out overnight, you can put it at like 20 seconds in the microwave, but our microwave decided to die after Christmas. I guess we wore it out. So, we're cooking the old-fashioned way, on the stove and in the oven.
As God intended.
Well, you know, microwaves are very convenient, but you can't survive without them. Alright, so we've got 1 cup of butter, which is 2 sticks, 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar pressed. You can pack it down, and half a cup of white sugar. And we're going to mix that up. And then the remaining ingredients, which I'll talk through with you, will be 1 cup of flour, to which I have added a teaspoon of baking soda. And I keep my baking soda in a canister simply because the cardboard containers don't keep the baking soda dry, and this makes it very convenient because not only can you use this to measure from, you can use it to scrub pots, because this makes a good abrasive without tearing up your pots and pans. So we have a cup of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt. And I prefer the non-iodized salt for baking because it has a slightly different taste if you have the iodized salt. So that's a half a teaspoon of salt. And then we have a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/8 teaspoon of nutmeg. And so I've combined those dry ingredients into the flour. And then we have 3 cups of oats. These are the regular old-fashioned oats. And then we have 1 bag of chocolate chips and a cup of chopped walnuts.
So how do you measure out 1/8 of a teaspoon for the nutmeg?
You have an 1/8 teaspoon measure. Actually, this is a quarter teaspoon, but this is the 1/8 teaspoon. Not every set has an 1/8 teaspoon, but what you can do is just use a half of a quarter teaspoon. So, alright. I'm going to cream the butter and sugar. It takes a little while. The butter got stuck in the beater. And what works pretty well is to use the paddle attachment for creaming, but then again I need the whisk for the rest of the ingredients, so alright, scoot that down. And I think what I can do in the meantime is just switch to the paddle for creaming, because for some reason whenever you buy aftermarket parts, I lost the whip sometime when we moved. I ordered a replacement one, but it doesn't reach the bottom of the bowl, and that makes it really inconvenient for creaming because it's hard to get a good result. So I'm going to switch this out real quick because that's annoying me. Oops, got a piece of batter on my phone. Alright. So, put this on here. And over the Christmas holidays,
You may want to fix that bowl. Yep, there you go.
yeah, and over the Christmas holidays, I cleaned out my kitchen gear, so it's all nice and organized now. That's doing a much better job of creaming. Alright. So you got to continually scrape down your recipe, or your ingredients, so that way it all gets incorporated. And then, before I started this, I set the oven to 375 so the oven could get ready. So we're going to cream the butter and sugar. And again, that's a cup of butter, 3/4 cup packed brown sugar, half a cup of white sugar, and then when that's ready, we will add an egg. And I cracked it into a container by itself, because my biggest pet peeve in recipes and in breakfast foods is eggshells. To me, that's like nails on a chalkboard type of annoyance. So, I'm going to put the egg in there. And then I'm going to eyeball a teaspoon of vanilla. And I'm going to scrape down the sides here. Alright, scrape that down. Alright. Alright, and now I'm going to add in the flour mixture. And again, the flour mixture is a cup of flour, 1 teaspoon baking soda, half teaspoon salt, 1 teaspoon cinnamon, and 1/8 teaspoon nutmeg. You just add that in slowly. If you add the flour in too fast, it goes whoosh, and we don't want that. I'm going to scrape down the sides again. This is a recipe I got off a package of Ghirardelli chocolate chips a few years back. And I clipped the recipe out and I subsequently lost it, but it's on the Ghirardelli website, and it's called Clementine's Oatmeal Cookies. So I'm going to drop that down. I'm going to spin the beater to get the mix off of it. And it is stuck on there for dear life, but that's okay. So I'm going to scrape off the beater, and then I'm going to mix the remaining ingredients by hand, because it's too thick of a batter for the mixer. So
when you make this, do you sing My Darling Clementine?
No, because I really can't carry a tune that well. Unless you give me a bucket, then I could probably write it down and carry it in a bucket. Anyway. I used to sing better when the kids were small because I used to sing them to sleep all the time. So I think singing is a matter of gift and practice. But yes, I do think of Clementine, that song, Oh My Darling Clementine, when I see this recipe because of the name. So, we do that, get that off of there. I'm going to try to get a little bit more of this butter sugar mixture off of here. Alright, so I'm going to scrape down the sides, make sure it's all scraped down. And then the remaining ingredients you mix in by hand because it's very thick batter. 3 cups oats, 1 cup chopped walnuts, and one bag of chocolate chips. I would normally use Ghirardelli chocolate chips, but I happen to have these ones on hand. So, kind of like my generic Worcestershire sauce, I got my generic chocolate chips to go with the Ghirardelli recipe.
And how big was the bag of chocolate chips?
It's a full-size bag, typically 12 ounces. This one is actually 9, but it's all good. And this is called a Danish dough whisk. I got this online during the pandemic because a lot of people were baking and cooking, and I found some cool tools. So you can see what it looks like. It's just kind of a wire whip. And it's great for these really stiff doughs. Alright.
You're getting a workout.
Yes. It's a very stiff dough. Which is why it's really good to have good mixing tools, because if you have better tools, you're more apt to try out new recipes and make yummy treats. For some reason, I think that if you don't have proper tools for cooking, it's kind of like trying to drive in the snow without snow tires. You can do it, but it's far easier if you have the right equipment. So, this is really a stiff dough. I want to make sure I get all the oats and chocolate chips and nuts combined. Alright. So, you can tell that this is a very handy tool. Alright, let me wash my hands and I will scoop out the dough. Clean hands are always essential in a kitchen. So, now we have got my cookie scoop and cookie sheets. Last year at Christmas time I decided to, well actually a full year ago at Christmas time, I decided to restock my kitchen with baking pans because I got tired of using hot cookie sheets or waiting for them to cool down. So I got extra cooking sheets, and it makes it so much easier when you bake. Especially at the holidays when you have a lot of cookies to make.
So explain that to me. You about a hot cookie sheet.
So basically when the cookies come out of the oven, you have to let them rest for about a minute or two before you put them on a cooling rack. But if you only have 2 cookie sheets and you're making 4 dozen cookies, you eventually have to stop and wait for them to cool off.
Okay.
So I got more cookie sheets for that reason.
And why do you have to wait for them to cool off? Just
because the dough will spread.
Oh, okay. Those look almost like your no-bake cookies.
They're a pretty stiff dough consistency. Actually, I think I'm going to do these 3 abreast so they have plenty of room to spread. So, I'm going to do that. Because these don't spread that much, but you don't want your cookies to stick together. So I'm going to do them 3 across and 4 down. So that way, if there's 4 dozen cookies, we have 4 cookie sheets. So if anybody ever asks you, when will I use this math again when you're in school? You use it when you're scaling up recipes. Because when I bake at church, we make like triple or quadruple our typical recipe. And you have to do the math in your head because most recipes online will only scale up 2 or 3 times. So, this is a very stiff, dry dough. Alright. And these will cook at 375 for 15 minutes.
That one couldn't wait to get on the pan.
Alright. So, let's take these over to the oven. And while these are baking, we'll get the rest of the dough scooped out, and then we'll show you what they look like when they're done. So make sure you like and subscribe, and share the videos to your friends, and give us your feedback. And we will see you back at again soon. They have cooked for about 15 minutes. So I'm going to take them out and put in the next batch. Get a grip on it. Whoops.
Don't lose it now.
Almost sent the cookies into the air.
I didn't realize it was hung up on the grate of the oven rack. Alright, so now I got the next batch cooking for another 15 minutes, and then after that, we'll bring you back. Alright, and now that they have cooled on the cookie sheet for a little bit, we're going to put them on the cooling rack.
They look so good.
Yes, they do. And the other ones are almost done. Ready to come out of the oven.
Now, just out of curiosity, what would happen if you like tried to get them off the pan before they were cold?
They'd be a little soft. This gives them a chance to set up. It's just like you don't cut meat straight from the oven. You wait for it to settle out a little bit for the juices to reabsorb. So let me get the other pan. So I think these will probably be cool enough to do a taste test on. So, oops. It kind of stuck to the spatula and I almost dropped it. And as you can tell, these spread a little bit, so that's the importance of giving a couple of inches space in between cookies. So let's check and see if the others are ready to come out. Looks like they need just a couple more minutes. So why don't we have our taste test and you guys can see how yummy they are. Yeah, these are cool enough. Logan?
Oh boy. I've been waiting for this since we started the video.
Alright.
Delicious.
And why don't you switch spots and then you can try.
I can try it. Okay. Which one do you want to do? Just hand me a cookie. It's really good.
Yeah. Nice and yummy.
Oatmeal and chocolate chips, my favorite.
Yep. Alright, well thank you again for joining us on this journey of Clementine's Oatmeal Chocolate Chip Cookies. And the other ones will be coming out momentarily, and after they set up on the cookie sheet, we will put them on the cooling rack like we did these. But thank you again, and please like and subscribe and share to your friends, and join us again soon.
Thank you for watching Miss Cindy's Kitchen. To get more recipes like this one, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notifications when new videos are uploaded. Share it out to your friends, family, neighbors, and leave us a comment to let us know how this recipe worked for you. And don't forget to hit that like button. Again, thank you for watching Miss Cindy's Kitchen.